I was a bit nervous this time. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to create the thing that I had in my head. So I started off with a very simple sketch. I used markers for the sketch because I wanted something that could help me loosen up a bit. And I don't use markers that often, so that's why I chose it. I also wanted to imagine the colors I had in my mind and worry less about the outline and more about the overall composition of the piece. After I finished the sketch, I felt a bit more confident and was ready to follow the prompt. Draw a picture representing an ability you have that you are grateful for. It didn't take me long to figure out what I wanted to draw, but it did take me a while to figure out how to depict it, because this isn't something that is easily shown. Sometimes the things that I have in my head don't always come out the way I want on paper. I think that other artists would understand how that feels. Since the prompt is about being grateful for our abilities, I decided to pick something that was more simple than anything else I might have thought of to do. There's lots of things that I have ability in, and I wanted it to be something so simple, so taken for granted. I just thought it would be nice to remember those things that are so easy for us to do that we don't even think about them. And so the subject I decided to do was breathing. I have the ability to breathe. Yes, that is what I chose. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but first I want to talk to you about this grass. So far the image that I'm creating has been going pretty well. I started in on this grass, but then I realized that it wasn't really time to start doing that and I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. Also, I didn't really like how it was going because it just looks like third grade. So I decided to start on to the clothing instead. In the sketch, my shirt was green, but I decided to go with a purple because it would stand out from the grass. And yellow complemented the shirt very well. So back to why I chose breathing as my ability. I often take my ability to breathe for granted because most of us do it so effortlessly. And yet here I say most of us. Not all of us can breathe effortlessly. Some need help. And so I'm grateful for my ability to breathe. I think I take the ability to breathe for granted because nearly everyone has it. But even then, it is something that keeps me alive. It is something so simple, but affects every day and every moment of my life. I looked on the internet and found that the average person takes between 20 to 23,000 breaths every day. I find that incredible. The human body is amazing in the ability we have to stay alive and how naturally our internal organs work without aid and without thought. They simply work with nearly no mental effort involved. Of course, there are those who still do not have the blessing of breathing on their own. Some need help to breathe. And it's a reminder that something so simple as breathing really is a gift. The grass in front is looking a lot better, and I'm adding a little bit of a texture in the background just to give the feeling that I'm looking out into a distant field. The elements of the picture that I plan to indicate the ability of breathing include the overall area scenery as I am breathing in the smell of grass and flowers, and I also wanted to indicate in a less subtle way by adding swirls to represent air and a somewhat symbol-like version of lungs. I plan to make them this blue or like a green color, but as I was painting it in, it started looking like a woman's magazine, painterly pharmaceutical ad. Not really what I was going for, if you know what I mean. So I just added some water and blended it into the painting. You may notice that I only use one brush the entire time. This is because I wanted to keep a loose painterly look for this image. And if I used a small brush, I knew I would get deep into the details. So even on the finer parts of the face, the effect worked well for me. This is my second attempt at lungs. I decided I could do it if I did it very softly and if it just looked more like a part of her shirt. But in a subtle way, I know what it is. I also worked hard to keep the swirls very subtle so that it would just blend into the picture, but you could still see it enough and I'm really happy with the end result. If you would like to try some of these prompts, there is a free downloadable PDF on our website with the full list of prompts for the whole year. Our next prompt is draw an item you keep with you that makes your life better. Stay merry and creative.